I see a lot of videos online where people are talking about using fingers for speed. You don't see a lot of talk about wrists, but here's a few things I want to point out. I have here a non-reboundy surface. This is a gel pad, has that much rebound. And I have a reboundy surface, right? Typical rebound pad. So I want to point out that when you're playing beats, we typically, the meat and potatoes of what we do on a day-to-day basis, unless maybe you're playing a lot of really fast jazz, is not this. It's more like this, using your wrists. We don't tend to use our fingers when we're playing, we're trying to play like a big fat snare. Fingers are great for reboundy surfaces like this, right? Not so great for any part of the drum set that doesn't have a whole lot of rebound, which is a lot of the drum set. Most of my toms are not tuned that high, right? So even middle toms, for sure floor toms, and I don't know about you guys, but all of my snare drums, but a few, are tuned from medium to low. So I have a couple that are tuned really, really high that might feel something like this, but for the most part, there's a lot of non-rebound surfaces. A closed hi-hat has a lot of rebound. A heavy ride has a lot of rebound. So we need to be able to not only use fingers and wrists, but we need to be able to transition between the two pretty seamlessly. When you're starting out, I recommend starting with wrists. It's a little easier to get your head around, and we're using these big muscles. And I consider fingers something that might come a little bit later, after if you're just a brand new player. But if you're intermediate and up and you want to try this exercise, here's what I recommend for this. So we're going to transition between fingers and wrists. And the way that I like to work on it for myself is I like to do it on non-rebound surfaces and rebound surfaces. You can substitute a pillow for this if you already have a pad. You could go from a floor tom to a very tight snare if that's what you have available. So I'm going to do this at 180. This is, a relatively fast tempo, but I'm going to do this at 180 just to demonstrate the versatility of both these techniques. That with a little bit of work, you can use fingers on a non-rebound surface and wrist on a rebound surface and vice versa. But what we're working towards here really is thinking about this idea of fingers on a surface that might have a lot of rebound and more wrist on a surface that may not have a lot of rebound. And this idea of, for a lot of what we do here, this relaxed idea of this sort of grip where we're playing around the drum set and our hands are in a relaxed state and we're using these a little bit bigger muscles than what we would be using if we're doing this. Remember, most of us don't play like this. Okay, here we go. This is 180, 16th note at 180, and here's this exercise. I'm going to transition between the fingers and the wrists. Fingers, wrist, fingers, wrist, fingers, wrist, fingers, wrist. So when you start at a slower tempo, when you're using your fingers and this idea, we would like for the transition between the fingers and the wrist to be relatively smooth. You may notice that I'm moving my elbows in and out a little bit. This facilitates a little more of this, what's known as a German grip, a little more wrist, and this facilitates this elbow in a little better angle for the fingers. But that's not mandatory. It's just this idea of, even if I don't move my arms that much, this idea of switching between the two. And you can also spend as much time as you want just on one or the other. If you want to spend all day with your wrists, or if you want to spend all day with your fingers, it's a great way to develop your hands. Try it out. Let me know in the comments below if this helps you and what you found about your fingers and your wrists. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and there'll be more. See you soon.